Hi there, this is Art and Such with part 2 of my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Chris Griffin from Family Guy. And in part 1 we got our arms ready, we've got some extensions, we have our hat ready, and we put the first part of the body on the loom. We're going to continue, so just check that your top half is right. And then we're coming down on each of the rows with 3 sets of double bands. In the middle, you're going to add 2 sets of gray bands underneath that. And on either side, we go to the end of the loom with double gray bands. Just before you put this all on though, I want to mention in my first Chris, I used 6 bands on these pegs and 5 on the ones underneath to make it thicker. But I found it just ended up kind of bulging in the back and looked a little too bulgy. If you do want more thickness, you can add extra bands here, here, and likewise across. As I said, I'm just using doubles, and that's where we're at. We're going to make some shoes for the bottom. Maybe we'll just clear something off of our hook first there. Let's put on 2 capping bands in a triangle formation, or holding bands, from your 6th peg down to your 6th peg down. It's right where your pink ends, and you pull it over the middle because our extension is not going to cover that. Now you have your extension on your hook here. You're going to take the bottom 2 and put it on that 8th peg where your gray starts, and the bands which are on your hook can go to that 6th peg where we put our triangle just now. Let me get this on and then I'll show it to you. You can even start at 1 higher if you want to, but this should be okay. And you're going to take one of the bands, a couple of the bands out of here, and stretch them across the peg on the side here and to the peg in the center. Oh, sorry, center above. And this one is on the bottom, is going to go, oops, to that center peg. Okay. We're going to do this on the other side. And if you can find, there should be a couple here which might be a little bit easier to work with, but let's put that on there. So you're pulling the bottom loops over to the center. You're putting your top ones off of, taking your top ones off of your hook, putting it on that 6th peg from the top. And then you're stretching 2 bands out of this middle section and bringing it over the middle in the center and over this peg to the side. And that gives a little bit of a width to him. Now we've got a tiny bit more room. We are going to make some shoes. For our shoes, we are doing, where did I write that down? Oh, the side, okay. For our shoes, we have 3 white bands wrapped twice onto the hook, and you're going to take 2 white bands and 1 red band and pull your wrapped ones over. And this is going to go onto another set here. We're going to do 2 bands wrapped twice. This is the kind of boot that Kate Schultz does on her channel. Is delicious. It looks really nice. We'll take another 2 bands and bring the first set over. And before we put the end on, we're bringing one side of our first set over. You're going to put your finger in here and bring this side onto the hook instead. And now put your red, white, red over the top. Other side back on, and this goes on your bottommost peg on the side. We'll do this again for the other foot. That was 3 reds wrapped twice. You can do it 3 times if you want it a little tighter. Pulled over 2 whites and a red. If you can get the red in the middle, that's good, but it's a little tricky and they will roll a little, so don't worry too much if it's not staying quite in place. This goes just on the hook. We're going to get 2 whites, wrap them twice over, 3 times. Some of my bands are a little stretched because I've been doing lots of experimenting to get this right, so, or this and other patterns. So I sometimes wrap them a little bit tighter when the bands are a little bit looser. We put one of these ends over where the red was. Put your finger through the hole by the hook and switch. So I've just flipped that around, and we're going to put the red, white, red right on top. Put this on the bottom of our other foot. We need some pieces for our face. So we're going to start with just some cap bands. We want it to be tight around the neck. So I'm doubling over a single skin tone band. I'm putting it right here. I think we'll do our leg pieces now as well while I'm on it. 2 gray bands, triangle band formation right under the blue. If you're counting up from the bottom, that's your 5th peg up. And we'll do this once underneath. If you would like it to be tighter at the bottom area, mine is kind of loose. If you want it tighter there, what you can do is take a single gray, double it over, and bring it across, and then pull the bottom up and over. Like so. That is optional. I'm gonna keep mine loose. I kind of like it to be saggy in this case. We're gonna use single bands to come across the face for the rest of our caps here, or at least for this next one and the top one. We can make this top one orange actually. This is coming from your second to your second. We have a gap here. We're gonna put our face, our nose, and everything in there. For the nose, it is a single wrapped 3 times onto your hook. You can make it tighter if you like. And we're going to put it onto a doubled over single. And put this onto a single band. This comes from your second peg to your second peg. Sorry, third peg. It's the second one into the face area. And if you are using very small beads, what you might want to do is take a single skin tone band and twist it like so, and stretch that across on those same pegs, and that helps to keep the eyes from falling in. If you are using larger beads or even bands, then you probably don't need that. You're going to put your beads onto a band. You can put it on using a piece of dental floss. You can use your hook if you have large beads, as I do. That's going on a skin tone band, and we're stretching it from the third to the third. I happen to have my eyes drawn on already from a previous project, so I'm just going to leave it there. You can draw yours on after. And I'm going to separate this a little bit by putting my hook in between and taking one of the bands and putting it over the peg above. Now you'll see the problem when you draw your eyes on first is it's hard to control where they go, but I'm not too worried about that right now. Okay, I think we have all of our holding bands. We need some last extensions. We're going to take that thicker yellow piece that we had. You'll put the top bands, take the top bands off your hook, put them on the top left peg, and then you need to get out a couple bands from the bottom to put on your 4th peg down. And we're just gonna do this actually from the 2nd peg where our hat finishes. And we want to bring this kind of over more. So get a peg and pull it over the 3rd peg down. And these pieces are going to curl inwards a little bit. Our other yellow chain is going to come from those bottom couple of pieces on that 4th peg down up to your 2nd one. Once more, you can grab one band and bring it over that 3rd peg. We have our eyes, we have our nose, we need our arms on the 5th peg down, right where our blue is starting. So make sure you get all of those bands on top. And we need to do that for the other side. Just make sure you get all those bands or you will have something loose popping out later. And your arm will lose some thickness if you have to take one of them out. Okay, I think we are ready to loop. Just have one more good look. I want to make sure I've got everything in place for you and give you a second to check for yourself. We do have one more piece, which is the hat piece, but we will add that up here when we have looped to this point. So I haven't forgotten that. We are getting to that. I'm going to bring this orange band up and over though, so it doesn't show orange on the forehead. Okay, well, let's start to loop. We're gonna start on the center and we will come up all the way to the second peg from the top. So we're taking our bottom 2 gray bands and looping them up and over. You're gonna go inside and get your next 2, loop them up and over, and keep going up. You're gonna see a lot of crisscrossing bands here. Push them all back, find your 2 from underneath. You can turn your loom sideways if it helps you to see it better as well. When you get here, we're switching to skin tone. Just keep looping, bottom 2 only. Try to get your nose inside at this point, but it can be adjusted later. We're going to push back the band that's holding the eyes on and stop there. And then we can come back and loop up the side. So go to the bottom and get your hook underneath your shoe. Get your 2 grays and pull them up and over your next peg. And on this side we're going to loop up. We're going to loop up to where the yellow is and then just hang on because I want to make sure we get all of the right bands there. This is going to be a little bit easier than the first one I did actually because, as I said, I'm not using as many bands on the center body. Now here we do have blue extensions in place, so check that you're only getting the bottom 2 blues. If you can't quite tell where they are, you can pull them out to the side a little bit, like so, and then dig under and get them. You can even use your hand to hold it in place. Now this one's a little bit tricky. You want to get the 2 skin tone bands which are on the bottom. And while it might be easier sometimes to take one band at a time and then the other, I find they hold a little stronger. They're less likely to snap if and when you're able to get both at once. Now we're going to get the 2 bottom skin tone bands. We're going to loop up another 2 times. Just as best you can, ignore the pinks and just get your skin tone. Sorry, your yellows. We're ignoring the yellows. I've been doing a lot of looming today. I'm getting my colors mixed up. Alright, I'm going to get you to loom up the other side. And then I'm going to meet you back for part 2, or part 3. So once more, let me just review the steps for you. Go under your shoe, loop up your grays, loop up the side, only taking the bottom 2 blues as they come from the pegs above. Get under the arm, loop up your skin, and stop when you get to the second peg from the top. I'll see you with part 3, and then we will add our hat and finish Chris off. Thanks for watching. See you back.